Welcome back for another video on learning your trees. And in this video, we're going to cover the spruce tree and its many survival and medicinal benefits. The top two survival uses of the spruce tree are cordage and shelter. In our courses, students are expected to learn the survival priorities and put them into practice in class, as well as in real-life tests such as our Scout Survival program, where they live off the land with minimum tools for 7 days. And the first survival priority in most environments is typically shelter. And in this video, we will show you why the spruce is also a top choice resource for shelter building skills, as well as a must-know wintertime medicinal plant. And the root can be even used as a rope to make friction fire if you're really good with your primitive skills. As with any plant skill, proper identification is key and absolutely vital. So remember to refer to local field guides and the Picture This app for proper identification, but never solely rely on one source of identification. Now, spruce trees can range a lot in size, but can grow upwards of 100 feet in some species. But for survival, the smaller, lower growing ones tend to work best for our purposes. While the spruce tree doesn't have any poisonous lookalikes, it is possible for the untrained eye to potentially confuse a yew tree for other edible and medicinal conifers. The yew is not very widespread, but just be aware that there's one conifer type that does look similar to other conifers and is very toxic. That being said, almost all conifers have the same uses, and there are no real dangers outside of the yew tree with this family of trees. Now, the three most common North American conifers are pine trees, fir, and spruce trees. All three have relatively the same uses, but telling the difference among conifers can be tricky. Here's some tips for figuring out which one is which. Look for the number of needles that come out of the same spot on a twig. If a twig bears needles in groups of 2, 3, 4, or 5, you can safely call it a pine. If the twig carries the needles, singly growing directly from the stem, it's a good bet you've got a fir or a spruce. Now, pull off a needle, roll it between your fingers, and if it feels flat and doesn't roll easily, it's a fir. The needle has 4 sides and thus rolls easily between your fingers. It's a spruce. The spruce tree is mostly a northern tree, but it can be found in the Midwest, the Rockies, and any of the cooler climates in North America. Oftentimes the tree that grows in your area will provide the best survival and immediate needs for what you need in that situation. And in the case of spruce, it provides a ton of vitamin C for winter nutrition and has some fantastic shelter and fire-making resources as well. Now let's dig into the many survival uses for shelter and fire making. The first skill I teach students at our survival programs is shelter building, because often it's temperature changes and bad weather that kills us in the wilderness. And the key thing to know about shelter building is that location is everything. We want to build our shelters in locations out of the weather and utilize terrain and plant life to protect us from the weather. When deer and game need to escape weather, they head to thickets and sleep under thick canopied trees. You want somewhere out of the weather that has good overhead cover to protect you from snow and rain. The spruce tree tends to be a lower growing tree with a thicker canopy than many other conifers, and is an excellent place to build a shelter under. The beautiful thing about conifers is that they never lose their needles, so building shelter in winter under the thickest canopied ones is an awesome survival shelter hack, because it can help you cut a considerable amount of work out of shelter building. Because with most primitive survival shelters, 80% of the work is in the building of the roof. So you can build a lean-to type shelter directly underneath a spruce, and it will reduce much of the work of waterproofing your shelter and sleep area. In our area, we primarily build shelters under eastern red cedar because it has many of the same qualities as you can see in these class videos. We always build under existing trees. Secondly, the spruce has some of the most useful roots you can find in North America, hence the title of the name survival wire. It's the most unique survival resource the tree offers because in northern climates, it's extremely hard to find cordage making resources in winter. And spruce roots are extremely flexible and tough, and they are a viable alternative to modern rope or strapping. So you can dig up a root with a digging stick and use it for a multitude of things that you'd use cordage for. It's so premium that you can even use the root as a bow drill rope without any processing. Though this is an extremely difficult skill to master, it is something we cover in our survival instructor program. I'll link a video down below from Far North Bushcraft demonstrating this technique if you're interested in seeing it done. The root can be used to lash shelter poles to a tree so that you don't have to use any cordage you have on you. It's equivalent to vines that you might find in the jungle of Central and South America. One of the amazing things about the jungle is the abundance of strong vines everywhere that can be used like rope. Often they are so good in many jungle areas that you don't even need to carry rope with you because the vines are so abundant. They'll take care of your cordage needs in jungle environments. And since the North doesn't have any flexible vines, and cordage making material is always hard to find in winter, spruce is a viable option for this survival need. Now that we've hit our major key points on survival uses, let's dig into the medicinal uses of this plant. The spruce has many of the same medicinal uses that other conifers have, and you can make a tea out of its needles for a fantastic source of vitamin C. In wintertime, vitamin C is essential for maintaining health, and many conifers have more vitamin C in them than citrus fruits do. It really is a super nutrient dense resource that you'll need in these environments, especially during an inclement weather when your immune system is the most stressed. And historically, you hear accounts of sailors using conifers for vitamin C to fight scurvy when citrus was unavailable. But on a nutrition side note, less commonly known subject about scurvy is that it's primarily caused by overconsumption of carbohydrates such as hardtack, which blocked vitamin C absorption from meat that they were eating. There are actually small amounts of vitamin C in meat and enough to keep you healthy, but when combined with foods such as hardtack, that vitamin absorption is largely blocked by your glucose consumption. Because glucose uses the same metabolic pathways as vitamin C, and when you consume a lot of glucose in excess, you block much of your body's ability to absorb vitamin C. In a remote setting and with limited foods, you could become deficient in vitamin C very quickly. So the best and fastest way to get that vitamin C is in a steep tea. Just heat up some water, add your spruce needles, and let them steep until cool enough to drink. But when making teas, there's a few things to know. While some medicinal plant compounds can be boiled, it's often best to steep things with a very mild heat. A lot of herbal constituents are damaged by heat, so with any herbal remedy, heat is primarily used to extract the nutrients and compounds from the plant. And no more heat is, you don't want, less is more. Conifers in general are resinous medicinal constituents, so they need heat to extract them, but you don't want to heat it up so much that you destroy the vitamin C as well. Some other medicinal uses for spruce are that the resin it exudes from the damaged tree sections can be used externally on wounds to disinfect and protect. So you get a cut or a scrape, you add it on there, and it helps kill bacteria and protect the wound from getting dirty and reinfected. And lastly, you can eat the intercambium layer of spruce, and most conifers are considered a type of famine food. People have historically survived through really tough winters by eating the intercambium of different conifers, though it's an extremely unpalatable food. It will keep you alive, but very unhappy in the short term. And approximately about 1 pound of conifer flour equals about 600 calories, but it's going to be really hard on your kidneys and just really difficult to eat in general. And that sums up our information on the mighty spruce tree and its many uses for survival. So, if you've got an interest in taking some courses and learning hands-on, just visit survivalschool.us. And for all you veterans out there with GI benefits, our 45-day instructor program is covered by the GI Bill. So get off the couch, man. Get out in the woods, come out and get some training with us, and we'd be happy to get you schooled up on everything that you need to know on survival. But that's a wrap for this video. Rob signing off. Sigma 3 out.